Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the brand new Netflix show Tiger King 2. Now then, Tiger King, as we all know, came out last year on Netflix at the height of the pandemic where most of the world was in lockdown, and it was kind of a bit of a cultural phenomenon. Me, like probably many others watching the show, kind of watched it with his jaws hitting the floor in regards to um, some of the things that we saw in that. It was unbelievable. But to be fair, it was really watchable and arguably one of the best shows of last year. Now, Tiger King 2 has sneaked up on us. And what do we get in Tiger King 2? Because we know that Joe Exotic is behind bars. We know from news reports that they tried to get him a presidential pardon on Donald Trump's at the end of his reign of domination in America. So I always wondered where they were going to go with Tiger King 2. What were they going to do with Joe being behind in jail? But I suppose they had to do something because it was such a worldwide huge hit, Tiger King. Netflix needed to try and follow it up. And they have followed it up. Is it as good as the first one? That's a resounding no. It just isn't as good as the first one. And the main reason for that is you don't get an awful lot of Joe Exotic here, for obvious reasons. But what we get here is 5 episodes, which is a reduction of what we got last time. I can't remember how many episodes we got in the first season, but it was at least 7, I'll say that. But it could have been more. And it focuses on, even though we do get some Joe content, in a sense of they kind of interview him in jail. Well, when I say interview him, they talk to him on a phone and you can kind of see his face or the top of his head on like a camera. As you can see on that picture there, that's basically the best you get from Joe, apart from some clips that they've obviously put into the documentary. But this essentially focuses on the characters from the first series and where they're at now. For example, I'll try and give you an outline of what we get in each of the episodes. I think it's probably the best way of doing it. Now, the first episode essentially focuses on the aftermath for the first season, Joe in jail, and then this wave of enthusiasm of trying to get him released from jail and all the effort that they put into getting the presidential pardon. It was just ridiculous, really. I mean, even Joe admitted at one point in this episode that they went too far with like the limo turning up to get him out of jail, and because they were so convinced that Donald Trump was going to give him a pardon. And to be fair, I would imagine Donald Trump probably gave it serious consideration, knowing Donald Trump, but he didn't get his presidential pardon. So, but that's what the first episode focuses on. Really, it's things around that in regards to Joe in jail and trying to get him out with the pardon and stuff. And then the next next 2 episodes really focuses on Carol Baskin. And I know she's trying to sue Netflix at the minute because she didn't want to have any involvement in season 2. But she's still involved in a sense of they're still talking about her. The main focus of the second and the third episode here is the disappearance of her husband, Don, that it touched on in the first season. So the second episode focused very heavily on Carol's missing husband, but it also focused on the possibility that he might actually be alive. There were some reports that he might be alive. So they actually go down to Costa Rica. They interview some people that knew him down there. So to be fair to Netflix, they present 2 arguments here. They present the fact that he could have actually died in Costa Rica, or potentially have been alive. And then the third episode again puts the focus directly on Carol Baskin in regards to her alibi and her story about what happened to Don. So they kind of shine the light on her again in the sense of, was she involved? So they try and balance it out, I suppose it's fair to say. And the fourth and the fifth episode basically focused on Tim Stark and Jeff Lowe. Tim Stark is the guy that partnered up with Jeff Lowe once Joe went in prison to try and rebuild this zoo and build this zoo together, and they fell out massively. Doesn't surprise me when you watch this, because Tim Stark, I'm sorry, what a vile, horrible man he was. Jeff Lowe, let's be fair, is only one rung down the ladder from him, I think. But they're both awful, awful people. And this Netflix show doesn't pull any punches. It shows them, it exposes them for who they are and what they are. Horrible, horrible people in regards to the abuse that they've put their animals through. And how and then it kind of finishes this series with everybody strangely kind of coming together, trying to get Joe out of prison. So we've got the people that basically framed him, or he claims framed him and put him in prison, kind of coming forward and saying, yes, we kind of did that. We want to change our statements. So you get all these scummy lawyers now on board in this season trying to do the right thing. You've got this one lawyer who was initially working for Don's daughters, trying to find out what happened to him, being horrible and chasing Carol Baskin. And then when they fire him, he goes and works for Joe Exotic, trying to get him out of prison. I mean, you couldn't write it. So it kind of finishes with the potential or the prospect of, all these people coming together and maybe getting Joe out of prison. And I would suspect that Netflix are probably sitting and doing a little seance and little prayer right now in the hope that it all comes together and it can be proved that Joe's innocent and he can get out of jail. I personally seriously doubt it, because all it seemed to suggest to me, the evidence they were presenting, was that they all perjured themselves and that they're viable, or liable, should I say, and they potentially will end up in jail with Joe Exotic, not getting him out of jail. But let's just see. I'm not really sure if they can go anywhere with Tiger King 3, unless Joe gets out, and then Netflix will be rubbing their hands. But this is definitely a step down from the first season, but it is still entertaining and quite shocking at times. So I'm going to give it, I think, a fair 7 out of 10. It's watchable, entertaining. Me and my wife both watched it and enjoyed it, but it didn't have the wow and shock factor of the first season. So thank you very much for watching. Of course, I will be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.